Nobody warned the Dogo Argentino about the ice. Blanca weighed 95 pounds and was the same color as the January Sidewalk. White coat, white paws, pale pink nose against white frost. When Laura Steinberg walked her in the dark at 6 a.m., the dog was nearly invisible against the snow until she pulled the leash tight. She pulled the leash tight on the third house from the corner, on the day the temperature had dropped to 14 degrees overnight and the rain from the previous evening had frozen in a sheet across the concrete. Laura's father, Robert, was 77. He walked with her and Blanca 3 mornings a week. It was his cardiologist's prescription, 30 minutes of daily walking, gentle pace. Robert had been compliant for 8 months. He took the medication, did the walks, ate the salads Laura prepared when he visited. This morning he was walking 3 steps behind Laura and Blanca. He was wearing the snow boots she had bought him in December. He had his hands in his jacket pockets, which was what Laura would later identify as the critical detail. Hands in pockets, not free for balance. She didn't hear him start to slip. She didn't feel a change in the leash. She felt Blanca turn. Not a pull, a rotation. The dog pivoted on her back feet, swinging her body across the sidewalk, and the leash, clipped to Laura's wrist by the loop, followed. The pivot changed Laura's direction by approximately 30 degrees, which changed her position by approximately 2 feet, which is where Robert landed when he fell. If you stay for stories about the animal within the breed, not the reputation, subscribe to The Animal Within. He went down hard, left hip, then shoulder. The black ice was invisible under the sodium light. He had taken 2 steps onto the frozen sheet and his right boot had lost traction entirely. He hit the spot where Laura had been standing 2 seconds before, the spot she had vacated when Blanca pivoted. Blanca was over him before the sound finished. Not pressing, that was wrong for the situation. She was beside his head, her white body low to the ground, and she was licking his face with the particular urgency of a dog who has gone from patrol to crisis and wants a response. Robert said, "I'm all right," before Laura reached him. She helped him sit up, left hip, bruised but not broken, confirmed by X-ray 3 hours later. His hand had come out of his pocket on the way down and taken some of the impact. Laura would spend 2 days thinking about the pivot, how Blanca had turned when there was no reason to turn, how the turn had moved Laura exactly far enough, how Robert had fallen exactly where Laura had been. Has a dog ever moved in a way that seemed random, and you later mapped out what would have happened if they hadn't? Tell us. Sometimes direction changes everything. The gait biomechanist at the University Physical Therapy Clinic, a researcher who consulted on canine movement patterns, gave Laura the only explanation she found satisfying. Large guardian breeds monitor multiple subjects simultaneously, the researcher said. Blanca was tracking you, your father, the environmental conditions, and the path ahead. The ice sheet would have registered as a change in sound. Footfall on ice produces a different frequency than footfall on dry concrete. She would have processed that change before either of you consciously registered it. She heard the ice, the creak of compressed ice, the shift in weight distribution, the prefall sound signature. These register below human conscious hearing but well within canine frequency range. She responded to what your father's foot told her was happening. She had heard him start to fall before he started falling, and she had moved Laura out of the landing zone before he landed. A 95-pound white dog against white ice in the dark at 6 in the morning, pivoting on frozen concrete with no traction visible and no warning audible, 2 seconds before a 77-year-old man with a history of cardiac issues landed on the sidewalk. Every animal within every breed deserves credit for the moments the reputation obscures. Subscribe to The Animal Within. Robert was back walking at 6 a.m. the following Wednesday, different route, one the city had sanded, same jacket, different posture, hands out of pockets. Laura kept them out of her pockets too. Blanca walked between them, not in front, between, her white body moving at the center of a three-person formation, monitoring the ground ahead, monitoring the footfall behind, monitoring the sound of boots on frozen concrete with the sensitivity of a species designed for exactly this, the navigation of dangerous terrain with vulnerable companions in the dark. The gate clinic researcher had said one more thing near the end of the consultation that Laura had written in her phone and not deleted. Dogo Argentinos were bred for cooperative big game hunting in the Argentine pampas. They hunt in groups, coordinate movement, protect flanks. The pivot your dog performed, repositioning a companion during a fall event, is essentially a flank protection maneuver. She didn't know she was on a sidewalk in January. She knew she was responsible for two people in a dangerous situation, and one of them was going down. And Blanca had been responsible for both of them. She had been responsible for Laura when Robert fell. She had moved Laura. She had been responsible for Robert in the landing, not the landing she could prevent, but the one she could soften. She had been there when he hit, face licking, response checking, 95 pounds, white coat, 2 responsibilities, both covered in the dark, on the ice at 6 a.m., because the animal within doesn't take mornings off.